My question is specifically for Mr. Hostetler. In your 12 years in the Congress, you maintained an extremely conservative record. You repeatedly submitted legislation to repeal the income tax, get us out of the UN, and I'm sure you did that over the objection of the much more left-leaning party leadership. As we look in terms of being a proven commodity, somebody who can stand up to lobbyists and party leadership that will try to pull them to the left, what's the key to maintain the conservative values and principles that people campaign on so that they become somebody that we can rely on based on their record as opposed to rhetoric? Thank you.
Well, the record is important. As I campaign across the state, it is a record that I can use in that process to make sure that voters understand that that is my record in the past, and that will be the conservative philosophy that I will take to the United States Senate. And it's in these town hall meetings and similar settings such as these candidate forums where voters learn about us respectively. But ultimately, voters must be able to trust us to do exactly what we say we're going to do. And that record is that certification, if you will, that I have done it in the past. I've taken the tough votes. I have, even when necessary, objected to the actions of my own party leadership, including the President of the United States and the Speaker of the House. And I'm willing to do that. But the only way that I can do that is with your support. I served 6 terms in the House of Representatives from a fairly Democrat district, and I could not have done that if they had not sent me to Washington, D.C. 6 times to do that. I'm asking for your support because without all of us working together, we're not going to solve the problems that face our country. It's my desire to restore trust in government. It's my desire that if you should choose me to serve you in the United States Senate, that I will do exactly what I said I was going to do to help get the country back on track. However, after I'm sworn into office, if I'm so chosen to be in that office, I'm going to come back to New Haven, Fort Wayne, Valparaiso, Evansville, Indianapolis, Zionsville, Columbus, Jasper, to hold meetings just like this, because it is going to take all of us to solve the problems that face our country. Without that consensus, it's going to be impossible for Washington to move forward and for us to have the leadership to do so.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Bates. Here.
I think the way you restore trust in the Republican Party is not by looking to the past, but by looking to the future. Look, Hoosiers are telling me they're frustrated with career politicians. We have a tremendous opportunity here to bring in more people into this process than we ever have before. We have people looking at the Republican Party who sat on the sidelines for years and years. And if we nominate a career politician, you're going to disenfranchise a movement of people that we need as a party. And so therefore, I think it would be a mistake to look to the past when our party desperately needs leadership for the future. And so I'm asking you to send fresh leadership to Washington. I'm asking you to send fresh leadership that people can look to without saying, well, he has no previous political experience. I will tell you what I'm hearing all across the state. It's the greatest asset I bring to the race, that I'm not a politician. And so I don't want to see us disenfranchise a group of people who are getting involved. And if we do that, if we pit a career politician against another career politician in Brad Ellsworth, then we're going to disenfranchise people that we need. So I'm asking you to send new leadership to Washington. Our party and our nation desperately needs it.
Mr. Bates?
Yes. You know, as the Indiana Tea Party leader and organizer, you know, I get often asked by my party, the Republican Party, you know, who are these Tea Party folks? Who are they? Where do they come from? The bottom line is that overwhelmingly the majority of these Tea Party folks are disenfranchised Republicans who are tired with career politicians who have gone and served for 12 years. But yet we sit here today in an environment that we kill more unborn children than we ever have. We're in debt greater than we ever have. In fact, we are writing checks that our grandchildren literally will not be able to cash. We now have a culture of death with this legislation that has been passed that literally will determine who among us, what our economic value is among us, and who's valuable to society and who is not. Yes, folks that I've spoken with all across our state and even across our country, this whole movement that you see are folks just like us who are tired of the same politicians and same politics as usual. It's very important on May 4th, you must listen to all the voices up here and decide which voice is best for you. I hear overwhelmingly it's time for a common citizen, for a common representative voice to be sent up the hill.
Thanks, sir. I believe the next question would be these folks here on the aisle. Yes, right there.
Okay, I would like to direct my question to John Hosteva. And I'm concerned with the way that our current president treats Israel, one of our major friends in the Middle East. And I would like to know if you have any concern in that area. And then I would also like to hear what you think about land for peace.
Okay, so land for peace and our friends Israel. Mr. Hosteva?
Well, we've come to this point that the United States may impose its will on a foreign country because every year since then President Jimmy Carter signed those accords, or facilitated the signing of those accords between Israel and Egypt, the federal government, the United States taxpayer, has been compelled to send billions of dollars to foreign countries, including Israel. And as is the case with all federal dollars from Washington, D.C., there are strings. Benjamin Netanyahu, after he was elected Prime Minister of Israel in 1996, came to the Congress and spoke before a joint session of Congress and said it was his goal as Prime Minister to wean the state of Israel, the nation of Israel, from U.S. support financially. That never took place. And as a result of that failure, today we have the United States government attempting to impose its will on a foreign sovereign state. And it will be that way, it has been that way since President Carter made that, since that Rose Garden ceremony. And I think it will continue to be that way until the United States and Israel decide that Israel will no longer accept these billions of dollars, U.S. taxpayer dollars, in an era of trillions of dollars of annual deficit to their country. And I think that's when that will end. I do not believe that the United States government should be imposing its will on any foreign state, that we should be in the process of defending our own national security and our own national security interests and not attempting to do that. And the Land for Peace proposition is a proposition that has supported the United States as well as Israel, but ultimately must be determined by Israel.
Thank you very much. Your concern was land for peace. It's something we've talked about for years, and about how we're treating Israel. We go to Mr. Bainey.
You know, certainly, I believe we should support Israel, for three different reasons. Politically, they're a democracy in a very tough region of the world. Strategically, they're literally on the front lines of terrorism. But as a man of faith, I look at it spiritually, and most importantly. As Genesis 12:3 states, God told us that He will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who don't. I choose to be on God's side, period.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bainey.
I think, there's if you knew me well, you know that my faith runs very deep. But I think when it comes to the state of Israel, we have to understand, there's a verse in the good book that says, let us reason together. And so, when it comes to Israel, if you don't agree with the spiritual side of why we support Israel, I'm okay with that. But the bottom line is this: they are our greatest ally in the Middle East. And our president, at least in the first year and a half of his reign, has offended our allies. At least it appears that way to me. And he's appeasing our enemies. We have no greater ally in the Middle East than Israel. Let us also acknowledge that you can't negotiate with terrorists.